All right, on today's episode, I welcome on a very, very special guest. He's one of the most sought out athletic and performance coaches out there. I welcome on Coach Nick Corriea. How are you?
Good. I'm great. Thanks for having me today, Jeff.
I'm excited to have you on, Coach. This is awesome. Like we talked off air, a lot of great things that you're doing out there, and I always see your posts on Instagram and all the great players and athletes that you work with. In New England and outside New England, and it's really cool to actually be able to speak to you because you've had a great, like, an interesting journey to get you to where you are today, and and what has really turned your life around and made you such like a great person you are today. So this is awesome to have you on.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. So, before we talk about, the athletic performance training that how you got into it, I want to start from the beginning. I want to work from the beginning and work to where we are now today. In high school, you were a football player, and how did you get into sports and everything?
So pretty much my uncle was the head basketball coach at New Bedford High for 27 years. His name was Eddie Rodricks. And the thing that really got me into sports, like I watched them as a kid, but my grandmother who lived with us was a huge, huge, huge basketball fan. Now, it was all about New Bedford High basketball, though. That's all she cared about. So I started going to the games young, and you can imagine, like, if you don't know about the rivalry between New Bedford and Durfee, like, I encourage you to like look up some of the old games, like 4 to 5 thousand people at the games.
Wow.
There's no way like you're sitting in the Durfee crowd if you're from New Bedford or vice versa. It was too intense. And it was the greatest thing at 8 years old to see, like, there was nothing better. And I don't remember the first home game I went to, but the first away game I went to, we were at Durfee. Mike Herren was a senior. It's 1989. I'm 8. They're number 1 in the state, 8 in the country, Durfee, Fall River.
Wow.
We're always ranked in the top 5. And there's no cell phones back then. There's no technology. We pull up, me, my cousin Rebecca, Coach Rodriguez's daughter, my Aunt Connie, my grandmother, and this older woman who was like a big time New Bedford fan named Mamie. There's 2 police officers waiting for us to walk us and escort us to our seats.
Oh my God.
And it was just, the Celtics and Lakers couldn't light a candle to it in my eyes. It was amazing. It was like, if I can't explain the live atmosphere, it just made you want to live in that moment forever.
Oh wow, that's nuts. So, like, what was those games like? Like, what's the experience like just being there? Like, any fights or like how did it all go down there?
They were melees. They weren't fights. It was so
Yeah.
it was so intense, right? Check this out. It was so intense. They couldn't drive into the city without police escorts. Like, I mean, literally, there would be cops on the sides of the buses driving them into New Bedford, and we'd have cops driving us into Fall River because one year they didn't do it, and we hit the Durfee bus with 27 cinder blocks and broke every window.
Oh my God.
Guys were standing on the overpass launching them because they beat us at New Bedford.
Oh my God. So this rivalry is like intense. I honestly, I didn't know anything about it. Like, so there's old film on YouTube. You can check this out.
Yeah, yeah. Bob Ryan called it one of the greatest rivalries in the country when he came and watched a game.
Oh my God. That's awesome. I'll have to check that out. So I can see why growing up, this is what got you into sports, being a part
Yeah.
of it, seeing that atmosphere and everything like that. What was it like for yourself? Did you participate in any of these games against like New Bedford Derby?
Yeah, I mean, I did, but I was done with basketball early in high school. My uncle was the head coach. It would have been hard for me. I probably would have been buried on the bench just because we were my freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. We were top 5 in the state every year.
Wow.
We went to the South Sectional 2 times. Every year we lost. I think we lost to the state champion except once in the tournament. So it's tough to. I was so close to my uncle. He's probably the biggest factor in my coaching career, and I had a lot of respect for him. And I don't think, he would have made a big deal out of it, but in my mind, I might have, that I wasn't playing.
Yeah.
So I kind of backed out. I don't know if I took the easy way out. I might have. I probably was a little bit afraid, and I just kept working. I had gotten a job that summer working at a grocery store, and I was like, I'm just going to concentrate at football. But I was an average athlete in high school. Partying probably was more important to me than sports, if I'm being honest. Going into my senior year for football, that junior off season was the hardest I've ever worked for a sport. But at the same time, I was drinking a lot every weekend, smoking, and probably not taking care of my body at all.
Oh, wow. So at like what age did like the drinking and the smoking really start? Was it your junior year or like was it sophomore year? Like how did it all happen?
I probably got drunk in middle school a few times, if I'm being honest. I
Wow.
kind of looked up to drinking. It was just something that I thought guys did every weekend. I thought it was something I was supposed to do. I was drinking probably heavy as a junior, probably every weekend, if I'm being honest. Sometimes if I could get my hands on it during the week, I would have probably have done it then too. I remember going to basketball games, and if it's a Tuesday or a Wednesday and I had the opportunity to drink, I definitely would have. Freshman year in college, I went to Western New England College to play football, and I had a sports hernia. And I don't know, it wasn't the same as my high school to me. Like, I had some close friends there, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the same as playing for New Bedford, like all the tradition, pride, and love I had for it. And at that point, like, there was no doubt drugs and alcohol were more important to me.
Yeah.
I failed out. They asked me to leave. And I think in the month of like November and December, I'm probably pretty sure if I didn't drink every day, I probably took one day off a week and that's it.
Wow. That's crazy. Like, so when you go through a process like that and you get kicked out of school, I mean, and obviously having a sports hernia, first of all, does a sports hernia take you into like a darker place when you have an injury like that and you're not playing a sports, or is it just more of like, or were you just still just more into the drinking and everything that didn't really like matter as much, or how that worked?
So yeah, that's probably it, if I'm being honest. Like, I was so wrapped up in partying and drinking for me was a way for me to get out of myself. I was
Yeah.
always very uncomfortable in my own skin. I never looked in the mirror and was like, oh, you look good tonight. There was always things I saw that I wanted to fix or change. It was always someone else I would rather be. I never wanted to be Nick Corriea, and I think that I had just got wrapped up in it. And to me, it was fun. And it was a way for me to, I guess, what I thought level the playing field. Like, when I was out, I would look at myself in like a higher regard than I would in the real world, whether it would be socially, financially, intellectually, athletics, whatever it was. I never looked at myself in a high regard.
Oh, so like kind of like an escape from reality kind of type deal. Like it kind of helped
Yeah,
you build a different like a false confidence almost. The alcohol kind of helped you build, right?
absolutely. Yeah. And if like Halloween was my favorite holiday because it would be the only day a year I could dress up as someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because you don't have to be yourself. You don't have to be Nick Correa. You're, whoever you are dressed up on Halloween and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
So when all this is going down with the drinking as well as the drugs, when did it really just start to take over your life and affect your life to the point where you knew you had a problem and needed help?
It affected my life probably like, at 19, I got arrested, a few felonies from alcohol. Like, that it wouldn't have been something I would have ever done sober. But I remember the first time I was really like, man, this isn't good. I had been out 2 or 3 days drinking and doing coke, and it was probably like 7:30 in the morning, and I'm finishing up. My hands are shaking. I'm sweating, and I got in my car, and I'm following a school bus, and I just see all these people getting in their cars for work. I see these kids getting on the bus, and I hadn't been home and slept in 2 days. And the sad part was I was coaching high school football, and we had a game that night versus Brockton. And, I went home. The game probably wasn't till 5, slept, tried to sleep it off. And I called my friend on the way to the game. And I said, I think I have a problem with cocaine. I can't stop doing it. Every time I drink, I want it. I always do more than I want. And I would literally spend, if you gave me $1,000 on one of those nights and I had to pay the mortgage or pay for something important, I would have every intention of doing it. Once I put one line or whatever in my system, that money's gone. And,
Oh
you
wow.
know, You're not going to see me until the cocaine runs out.
Oh wow, that's crazy. So that's geez, that's nuts to like actually go through that and then having that realization when you call your friend. What does your friend say in that conversation to you?
He told me people were worried about me, that, at the time I was probably only 26 years old, man. And I
Wow.
already knew something was wrong, because I wouldn't tell people, but I would tell myself before I'd go out, no coke tonight, just drink and have fun, because I didn't start doing it hard till I was probably like 24. But one of my best friends died unexpectedly that summer.
Hmm.
And I kind of used it as an excuse because I had been doing coke, and I kind of used it as an excuse for me to do it all the time, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was devastated. He was one of my best friends, if not my best friend, that he died in a car accident.
Oh geez.
But the way my brain works is now I can get coke for free. Now I can get sympathy, and it's going to kind of get swept under a rug. But the problem was it caught up to me, and it caught up to me fast. He died in July, and I think I had that conversation with my friend in November.
Oh wow. Oh wow. That's crazy. So what were the next steps going forward after like, the conversation with your friend? Like what was the road to recovery?
It took a long time. I didn't get sober till I was 32. The problem was, like, on paper, I looked okay. I was coaching college basketball. I was coaching high school football. I was always working construction. I would always work out. And it wouldn't be like every night was like that. Like, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. But sometimes in a week, there'd be 5 like that, you know?
Wow.
And that's not good. I remember coaching college basketball, and I remember putting my hand in my pocket, and we're getting ready to play in like a huge game. And it was a Saturday game, and I reached in my pocket, and I must have had the same pants on from Friday night, and it was a huge bag of coke in my pocket. And
Oh,
I'm just like, man, this is crazy. And you know, I knew I had to stop. I would go in spurts where I would work out really, really hard and slow down. I don't think I ever stopped because I didn't know what I was. And the biggest issue was I blew my knee out playing basketball.
yeah.
And the way I lived my life, I didn't save money. I lived every day like it was my last day.
Yeah.
I and when I got surgery, I had $0 in the bank, not a penny. If I'm being real, I didn't even have a bank account. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
all I had was at 20. It was in 2008. I was 27. All I had was a jar of 160 Percocets, and it was the summertime. And I just started taking them like candy. I always knew people. I could always get more, and that was really, like, it didn't get any better when I recognized the coke. The opiates just made it worse,
Yeah.
because with the opiates, like, if I did cocaine, like, I'm only going to do that on the night scene. I'm going to do it to party. I'm not going to, most for me, I wasn't really doing it yet to go build a house. I wasn't doing it to go work out. Whereas Percocets, opiates, they change the game because you need them every day to function and wake up. And like most people that do opiates, I went from Percocets to Perc 30s to heroin,
Jeez.
and it happened quick. And by the time I was 32, I was in a really, really bad spot. Probably before that, probably at like 29 is when I realized, like, life wasn't good. But as long as I had drugs, I really didn't care, if I'm being honest.
Wow. That's nuts. So like getting into like the opiates and the heroin, did you have like friends that you would hang people that you would hang out would do like the heroin and stuff? Like anyone passed
Yeah.
away from that you knew? Because I know
Yeah.
heroin is like a big ordeal too. Like,
So the crazy thing is, the first person I did heroin with was probably the first great lifting partner I had in high school. He's
yeah.
the guy that motivated me that off season I was talking about, and encouraged me to, like, lift weights hard, work really hard. His name was Nick. And he was like me, like, when you do that stuff, you're sick, like, you're legit sick. And
Yeah.
he was the first person I bench press 225 with. He was the first person I did heroin with, but he passed away, a few days before Christmas. His mom found him dead. And that's at 33 years old. He graduated from UMass Amherst, cum laude, I think it's
Yeah.
called.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very handsome kid, huge in stature. Give you the shirt off his back. He just, was a prisoner to it. He got a taste of it. And like me, it's tough. It's tough to get that taste out of your mouth.
Oh, that's difficult to like go through that, and obviously lose friends to such a like crazy thing. I know like kids I went to high school with, I think we lost about like 5 or 6 of them from heroin, from doing
Yeah.
overdose on heroin, which is it's a terrible thing this day, and still terrible thing today as well too. When at age 32, like when did you really start to seek help? How, like, and we mentioned this off there, like how were the Herons such like a big help to you to kind of get you back on your feet and like everything?
So I started going to detox at 29. So I had 3 years of treatment. But
Yeah.
when you have to realize, like, Chris and Michael were the two best, in my opinion, non-New Bedford basketball players.
Yeah.
Like that I would look at. Now, Chris is probably the greatest player ever to come out of New England.
Yeah.
Patrick Ewing, probably. Michael was a force of nature. He was dominant. So, like, I say, like, New Bedford, like, I rooted for the New Bedford guys, but those were the two guys that I probably followed besides New Bedford, were Chris and Michael. And when Chris's podcast came out, it was the first time in my life where, the games they showed brought me back to memories before addiction on
Yeah.
his, and it made me feel okay. And I didn't know my mother, who was like my biggest advocate, had gotten in touch with Mike Herren, and he says that no mom has still ever called him more to this day. And they sent me to treatment, and I came out and I drank again. I failed, and I went to a bunch more detoxes, and then I finally got it. And when I was in treatment, I didn't have a phone, I didn't have anything, but my counselor would let me make a couple phone calls, and Michael would always answer for me. And Chris, when he wasn't busy, I would talk to him sometimes, and he sent me to the Miller House on the Heron Fund dime. I didn't pay a penny because I couldn't have.
Yeah.
And then a year later, they're still giving me opportunity. And May 1st, 2013 is my sober date. I celebrated 9 years this May, but
Congratulations.
thank you. It was a long road, and I just think Chris has been my mentor. He's been someone that I can look up to. I've known who he was since I was a little child. He's in recovery. I work for him. I train his sons. And I just think Mike and Chris gave me so many opportunities. I don't know if I was a person people would take big gambles on. Even when people didn't know how bad I was, people would be like, be careful of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a wild card. And like, if I'm being real, like, Chris was a McDonald's All-American, a Boston Celtic. Michael was the biggest force of nature ever to come out of Massachusetts, New England, for basketball. His team was 6th in the country, won 26 in a row. And, they had me start training Chris at junior at like 2.5, 3 years sober.
Wow.
And then Chris gave me an opportunity to work at his place. And he just always has believed in me. And it's kind of the craziest part about it is that when I was a kid, you're taught to hate Durfee so much. Like, they're the enemy.
Yeah.
And, his sons are like, they're like my nephews, brothers, whatever you want to call them, but there's no question they're family. And the same for all the Herons and Mike and Chris. And they've just done so much for me. And I owe so much to them. And, the only way you pay them back is by just doing it for someone else. So that relationship to me has probably been more special in my recovery than any other one, from like looking at things in a grand scheme, how much it's not only meant to me, but how much it's done for me, and probably helped others, just by using him as an example. So
Yeah, that's amazing that you had such a great support system and people that like really cared about you and wanted to see you recover and see where you are today. And obviously, like, working with their kids and doing the performance training and everything like that. How did after everything went down and the road to recovery and now being sober and everything, like, when did you realize that you wanted to really get into the sports performance training and become a coach and athletic trainer?
I started coaching high school basketball when I was 21. So I'd
Yeah.
always done it.
Yeah.
And like I talked about those times when I was able to hang on.
Yeah.
I had an AAU team I moved up with for 3 years. I coached them in summer league. And those times I would hang on because I loved doing it. I was
Yeah.
coaching college basketball at UMass Dartmouth, man, through the struggles. I
Wow.
coached 2 teams that went to the NCAA tournament. You
Huh.
know, I had opportunities to move up the ranks. Like there were meetings in place with Division II schools. And I
Wow.
don't have a degree in a much of a playing career. I just work hard, you know. And when I first got sober, I knew that I needed a break from the sidelines. I
Yeah.
didn't know what type of avenue I wanted to coach. I knew that the weight room had always been a big part of my life. I knew that I had trained with some really great people. And I knew that it's probably more realistic for me to get into that than dedicating like season after season after season, especially the fact that I'd probably never be a teacher because I don't have a degree.
Yeah. Yeah. So oh, go ahead.
And then 2 years sober, I started volunteering New Bedford football, and the snowball kept rolling, and here I am today. And that was 2015.
That's crazy. So it's amazing, like, all the ups and downs and everything, and then able to, get back on track and where you are today. And, with sports, the athletic training and the sports performance as well, too, because you also work for Chris Herren as well, too, right? Doing coaching there as well, correct?
Yeah, so he has a facility, and it's in Seekonk, Massachusetts. I've been there since it opened. And it's a wellness facility, and part of the curriculum is we want every guest, if they're physically capable, to come work out. So the men come in at 7:15, the women come in at 8:15. And then besides that, because I'm in recovery and sober, I also will run like recovery groups. I'll do some recovery coaching, whatever they need, and just kind of help these people navigate through some of the things that I had a tough time, or some of the struggles early on that sometimes to this day can still be challenging,
Yeah. And what's it like too? I mean, obviously, going through it yourself and being able to speak about it, what's it like to just get back to community and be in those situations to like speak to those people about your journeys
It,
and everything like that?
it's really rewarding. The biggest thing for me is moms, because my mom's dead and she never gave up on me. So like, there's so many kids I've worked with. If I see a mom drop a child off, and you see, that look of fear is my mom's face, right? I remember that look of fear.
Yeah.
And then you see the kid get a 1-year chip because they've been sober for 1 year. And then you see the mom's look of joy. To me, that's the most special moment. It usually makes me emotional every time. Sometimes it makes me emotional thinking about it. And I think that's like one of the biggest motivating factors for me to try to help people get what they deserve so they can have a good life.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, your story is amazing. And like, I'm trying not to get emotional, like listen to you talk about it and like how you got the help, everything like that. And like where you are today. Cause it's crazy. Cause speaking to you off air, first time we spoke, you have such like a calming, like, or I don't know how to say it, like a calming like sense of like when you just talk to you, and you know how to, like, I don't know, it just felt like we'd known each other just being able to talk to you. And it was like a comfort thing. Like, like it's crazy how you can make people feel comfortable just talking to you, but like sharing your story and be able to get out there, you must make such a huge impact on people's lives and everything like that.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, it's like what people have done for me. And in recovery, we just say we're giving the gift away freely, like people have given to us. And that's all it is, man. It's just me helping someone. But the best part is, like, when I help them and when I do that for them, without them even knowing, most of the time, they're helping me more than they could ever imagine.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's like seeing like that mom, like, gives me a high that a drug never could. So I'm going to get so much help from that. It's going to make me want to get up and do it again the next day.
I was gonna say that must give you so much like energy, like, just so like joy, and much that like must like give you just a ton of energy, just keep going and like want to keep doing that and see those faces and that joy.
Yeah, it's so special. And we don't run it like a regular place. Chris doesn't run it like, no one's a number. Like, we don't have name tags. We don't have people walking around there like trying to separate themselves. Like, we want to be one family there. And I think that's been the most special part. Like, no one's a number, no one's excluded. It's one team. And the team stuff is what I love the most about it. And it's literally like just people grabbing your back, helping you, lifting you up when you fall, and doing whatever it takes. And it goes from the top down and then back up the ladder, which is real amazing.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And you're able to, be part of the wellness facility over there and, just do great things for the community there and give back. And that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, man, thank you. It really is.
Yeah, it's so cool. And then as well too, I mean, you are also a big mentor with some, kids that you work out with here in Rhode Island and, some big names as well, like Tyler Kolick, who plays at Marquette, Aaron Gray, who's now at Niagara. Like, what's it like to, work with those guys and then see their success going forward as well too?
Their success doesn't surprise me. They just work hard, but to be a part of it is just a blessing. I mean, I have so many kids that have fallen, I guess, into my stable to me, to work with me. And the best part about, I think, the group of kids I train is it's like the movie Hoosiers. It's basketball, right? No one is more important than the other.
Yeah.
Like I had Ricky Lito and like Rakim Sanders like talking to a sixth grader the other day and just chopping it up with them when they finished their workout. And Aaron Gray, and I have a kid, Arius, who plays at Johnson and Wales. And, I told them, you're going to finish the workout. You're going to do 150 push-ups to finish on your own. Yeah. And they got it, and they bring it up. And it's just connecting kids from all over that just have a goal of being a better basketball player. Now, do all of them want to play at the highest level? Probably not. They just want to be better the next season. And I think that's what's so special about it. It doesn't matter. I don't always want the best kids. I've gotten a few of them. I've gotten blessed and I've gotten lucky, but I also have kids that will probably just like myself that just want to work really hard and try to get a little bit better,
Yeah, definitely. Like, and how do you how do those kids get in contact with you? How does those all get set up? Like they start working out with it?
Sweeney's actually really, really helped me. Ryan Sweeney, when I started in Rhode Island, he got me a lot of guys. He got me Tommy Garrick. He got me Dexter Thompson. He got me Aaron Gray, and it built a foundation. And the foundation went from 3 to 6, 6 to 12. And now I call certain kids, I'll just watch a video and I'll get a vibe.
Yeah.
Or I'll see a kid that I'm like, you know what, maybe this kid, he looks like he loves basketball, but maybe he's not as big or as strong as the other kids. Let's see if we can help him out.
Yeah.
And I kind of have to try to get a feel. I do get phone calls sometimes. To be honest with you, I forget to call people back. I'm terrible at that just because of my schedule, but I try to get certain pieces to the puzzle there. And then I do stuff with my friend Corey Wright. Yep. So he'll send me kids from his facility, and then other guys I've worked with, Brian Rudolph and CJ Ward, and they'll send me some guys sometimes. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, Sweens helps set up this interview. So shout out to Sweens for making this happen.
No doubt.
But he spoke very highly of you in our conversation. We spoke about you and just like the things you're doing. And like Sweens, like he's my guy. He's my go-to guy. Like I think he's one of the best trainers, not just in New England, but in the country. He was saying that about you.
Yeah, and he's put me on with Josh Smith. He's put me on with a Day Merck, and he's got me in text messages with some big time guys, and he's done nothing but help me, and he hasn't asked for anything in return. So I can't say how much I appreciate him and how much he's done for me and my brand. I really, really do appreciate all that he's done for me.
That's awesome. What's it like to, I mean, you worked with Josh Smith, a day at Merck, and then as well as Luka Garza. What's it like to work out with those, those NBA guys?
It's a dream. It's what I work hard for.
Yeah.
That's what I've been working all these hours for. But I also think it's my path and my plan. I think God has a purpose for me. There was a reason. There were times where I could have died. There were times I should have died and I didn't. And I feel like it's all part of the plan. And, my guy, I met Anthony Barry, set me up with Luka Garza, and he works for the Pistons, and, just making connections with all these people. And I don't think there are any such thing as coincidences. And, those guys are the elite, they're the cream of the crop. And to be able to just do that, it makes me feel really good about myself. That's probably the best thing. It makes me feel good, and I know it's helping them, and it's a win-win.
It's cool. It's really cool. And what kind of connection too do you like create in the, besides outside like the athletic and the performance? Seems like you make like a real connection with these guys. And what's that connection like too with them?
I was an only child growing up, but I feel like it's a natural conversation. And then I think a lot of times, like, you just get tight with guys, if you talk to some people, and I don't want them to ever think they're just a basketball player. I try to use the formula we use at my job at Chris's place. Like, to me, you're just not a basketball player. I know what your accolades are. I know how good you are, but let's push that to the side and let's develop something here. Let's work on something here. And then the rest of the stuff will come easy. If you're going to sit next to me and we're tight, you're going to do anything I ask you because you trust me, you believe in me, and you're going to be willing to work your butt off. If I'm just coming in the gym yelling and screaming and we don't develop any type of relationship, you may not listen to me. You may not respect me. So I think that stuff is so important because at the end of the day, these guys are playing at such a high level that they need the most out of their bodies. So I need to get the most out of them. And the only way to do that is through like kinship, brotherhood. I want it to feel like family, because I know I fight for my family. So if we can build that bond, you're going to grind for me. And then we don't even have to worry about the results. They're just going to happen on their own.
Yeah, that's a great attitude to love. And I love it because it's like to have that attitude and to build that family like relationship, those guys are going to go to bat for you at any time. They'll go to war for you because it's, we spoke off air. It sounds like you have a great relationship with a lot of these kids. And it's really cool to, hear the atmosphere that you're able to create in those workouts.
Yeah, it's cool too for like my little son who's 2,
Yeah.
And my fiance and my stepdaughter. Like, I try to bring guys to my house, for dinner. Come eat, come get a meal. The kid Gus Yalden slept over my house a couple nights.
Yeah.
So it's great for my son. He sees all these giants walking in and he doesn't even know how good they are. And, my, excuse me, my family really supports me too. My fiance is amazing at understanding the demands of my work schedule. And she's been able to juggle a lot and put up with a lot so I can do that. So shout out to her. And even my stepdaughter, they understand I work a lot and they never complain. So I've been blessed to have a beautiful family that has embraced it and been nothing but supportive. Because I think without that, I don't know if I'd be able to do any of this.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. You definitely need the support from the family. And I think that's like a major thing in any aspect with when chasing a dream and doing a dream and working your dream. And especially with the schedule, I'm sure you have a crazy schedule working with athletes. I feel like it's never a regular 9 to 5.
No. Sometimes it's 5 a.m. and then you got to do something at 9 a.m. So it can be long days and it can be tiring, but the reward is Tyler Kolek leads the Big East in assists as a freshman. The reward is Aaron Gray gets called up to Division I. The reward is when Chris Herren Jr., who's never played football, tells me he made the Alabama roster. When, I see these guys like Ja going down to Sacramento and killing it a day, getting the 10-day contract. And, I can go on and on and on. Curtis Cobb, Tommy Garrick, Dexter Thompson, some of my Fall River kids, Devon Williams is at New Haven. There's no doubt in my mind that kid's going to be in the NFL. And I think that just to have opportunities with all these kids it's been my dream. That's what I wanted to do. My middle school yearbook said work in NFL or NBA. Probably it said play in it, but I didn't have a 10th of that skill set, maybe 1/100th. So I'll do the next best thing.
I love it. That's awesome. I just have a couple more questions and then we'll
Sure.
Wrap it up. So one question is, you mentioned you work with some football players, such as Chris Herren Jr. and the kid that plays at New Haven, and then you have the basketball players. Do you like determine like a workout, or they all have they have a different regimen? How's that work out?
I try to give them what they need.
Yeah.
I think most of the time those high level athletes have played a lot of sports. So we have general physical preparation. And once they get through that, then they'll have specialized physical preparation, and like Chris might have a hip, another kid might have a shoulder, but I think training is training, and I just think making sure that their body is moving the way it's supposed to move and that everything's strong enough on them, and certain guys do need EDDs, which are everyday drills.
Yeah.
And then certain guys do need different things. I might have a guy who has a way better bench than he has a back, and we got to straighten that out. I may have a guy who had a knee surgery and his left leg's way stronger than his right. We got to straighten that out. So I have a formula, and then I always alter it or tailor it to what the guy needs.
That's awesome. That's great. I mean, I think that's great that you just don't harness on just like with the sport, but you look at like their actual needs and what needs to get done to help them get where they need to be.
Definitely.
That's great. And then, so Coach, I got one last question. It's more just outside of everything that we talked about, and it's just a little bit more of a fun. Actually, two more questions outside of everything that are just kind of for fun. First of all, what is your favorite food? Favorite food that you like to eat?
I can't do one. I'm going to do two. So I love Italian food. So I'd have to go with like a real old school Italian chicken parm dinner.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Or like a steak and a lobster tail. It would be either one of those.
That sounds good. Is there like a place that you like to get one of those?
Steak and lobster. I mean, if I'm going for Italian, it's Federal Hill.
Yep. Yeah.
And Dino's might be my go-to spot for chicken parm. Steak and lobster, I'd probably make on my own. I mean, if I had to go to a place for it, Capitol Grill's really good. But I have a 2.5-year-old son, so we don't go out to eat that often. So
yeah,
I was going to like vendor ravioli to get my chicken parm, and I'd come home and make it, and then.
That's great. Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely, when you have a kid, it's a little bit tougher to go out go out to dinner. But then my last question, I think I might know the answer to this. What's your favorite thing to do outside the sports performance training and the coaching and everything?
Well, individually, like for me, I would probably have to say like I love working out.
Yeah,
it's my favorite thing to do. And then as far as like spend time with my family.
That's awesome.
That's probably the most important thing. I do try to work out, and, I still go to AA meetings and stuff like that because I need to do that type of self-care. But, I need to spend time with my family, my son, my fiance, my stepdaughter. At the end of the day, I love what I do, but they're the reason I do it. So I think being able to just do stuff with them is the most important to me without question.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been awesome, Coach. I mean, awesome conversation, really emotional. Like I had to hold back tears a couple of times just to talk about things. And, and the man that you are today is unbelievable. And the things that you do for the kids and, create those relationships and, be the guy that you are today is just awesome. And the hard work that you put in and you give back to the people as well too, and explain your journey. And I love it. I love it, man. The world needs more people like you because you're just a great person.
Thank you. I really appreciate those words.
Of course. Well, this has been a lot of fun. We'll have to do it again, and we'll have to meet up in person sometime because
without question.
It'd be cool to maybe go to dinner at Federal Hill and grab a chicken parm.
No doubt.
Yeah. But Coach, thank you so much for your time and everything. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too.